Mike Laval joining us from Last Word on College Football to break down Tennessee's look at the NFL draft. Myles Garrett, of course, the consensus number one player on everyone's board, should be the first player taken. Derek Barnett, a similar skill set, obviously plays the same position. What I find intriguing, Mike, and I don't have the acumen to break down the tape and do it successfully, but Derek Barnett had similar statistics than Myles Garrett, but what really stood out, and you may have the exact numbers, but I remember seeing this a number of times in watching SEC games, that Derek Barnett compiled his tackles for loss and specifically his sacks against the best teams in the SEC. And the Lamars and the Rices and those type schools were typically what Myles Garrett feasted on to gain his tackles for loss and sacks. Again, not going to argue with the scouts, but the production against the better teams came from Derek Barnett.
Yeah, absolutely. If you go back and look at the stats splits, Derek Barnett was far more productive. Now, this isn't a comment against Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett's a great player. Derek Barnett was far more productive against SEC caliber schools than Myles Garrett was. Myles Garrett put up a lot of numbers against schools that weren't Power 5 schools. Derek Barnett had fantastic numbers, overall numbers that either paralleled or were just shy of Myles Garrett's. But when you look at SEC competition, Derek Barnett's numbers were not much better, but were significantly better than Myles Garrett. Derek Barnett's one of those guys who you look at his production and then you look at his 40 time and his combine performance and his intangibles. You know, I kind of talked about Josh Malone. He's going to go because of his build and his combine performance. He's going to go 4 through 6. With Derek Barnett, it's kind of the opposite. He's a guy that has mid-level combine times and a mid-level build for that 4-3 end in the NFL, hand on the ground end. But when you look at his college career and what he did against top-level offensive linemen, what he did against Alabama, what he did against Texas A&M, dominated that game. His college production was off the charts. So I think he's going to fall to the late first round, and I think that's going to be a huge mistake. I think whoever gets him, he's going to be a guy. He's a gamer. He's one of those guys who you can take his combine performance and just throw it out the window. Is he a little undersized? Yeah, sure, he's a little undersized, but he has that attitude. He has the perfect attitude for a defensive end, where he's kind of a clean mean is what I call it. And he has his real skill is his speed off the ball in that first step, and he can be disruptive in an NFL backfield. So I think he's going to fall maybe 18 to 30, and I think that's going to be a steal in about 4 or 5 years if he can stay healthy.